Next, we have Dave Odom. Dave Odom is a 16-year resident of Plum Boro and works as a Chief Information Security Officer in the field of cybersecurity. Maybe he could have helped us with some of this technology. In November of 2017, Dave was elected to the Plum Boro Council, becoming the first African American to be elected to public office in the borough of Plum. The good, the bad, and the ugly, life experiences and perspectives on racism. Dave will be talking about his personal experiences and providing perspective as a resident within the community. Thanks. You have a second. Go
ahead. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Black Lives Matter and Plum Committee for extending the invitation for me to speak at this event. It is truly humbling, and I appreciate everything you are doing to bring the issue of race and the overall importance of Black lives in our community to the forefront so we can begin to engage in the critical dialogue that is needed to address this issue. My participation in this event today is not as an elected official, but as a concerned citizen. The statements expressed by me today are solely my own. They do not represent the views or opinions of the Plum Boro Council. So in speaking to you today, I wanted to provide you with some background on my life, not in an effort to draw attention to myself, but to allow you to have some perspective on my personal experience living as an African American man in this country. And throughout my journey, I, like many others, have experienced the positive things society has to offer and struggled with the negative aspects of society, to include the evil that is racism. So I'd like to provide you this evening with my perspective and talk about the proverbial good, the bad, and the ugly. First, let's start with the good. I spent the majority of my adolescent years in upstate New York, specifically living in a relatively small community of Corning. After graduating from high school, I enlisted in the United States Navy, where I was selected for the Broadened Opportunity for Officer Selection and Training Program, or BOOST as it's more commonly referred to. The BOOST program was an initiative by the Navy designed to improve the number of minorities in the officer ranks. The program took young enlisted personnel with the aptitude to succeed academically and provided them with additional education and military training that would improve their ability to complete an academic program at a four-year college or university. Participants that completed the BOOST program received a four-year Navy ROTC scholarship or appointment to the Naval Academy. Upon completion of the BOOST program, I attended Norfolk State University, a historical Black college in Virginia, and received a bachelor's degree in computer science. Upon completing my college degree, I accepted a commission as an officer in the Navy and specialized in the field of cryptology and information warfare. I had an illustrious 10-year career as a naval officer, completing operational tours of duty on a destroyer, obtaining my master's degree in computer science from the Naval Postgraduate School, serving at the National Security Agency, and achieving the rank of lieutenant commander. In 2003, I left the Navy and relocated to the greater Pittsburgh area, where I could begin being with my family on a more permanent basis. Not knowing anything about Pittsburgh, I searched for an area that felt like home, and I found Plum. Driving through Plum looked and felt like the small upstate New York community I grew up in, so my wife Charmaine and I decided to build a house and make Plum our home. The experience we have had living in this community, the people we have met, the relationships we have made over the last 15 years have been overwhelmingly positive. In 2017, I felt compelled to serve the community in which I resided and decided to run for a council seat. In November of 2017, I was elected to the Plum Boro Council, becoming the first African American to be elected to public office in the borough of Plum, where I currently serve as council president. Now, you may say, wow, what a great story, filled with accomplishments and success. You've essentially lived the American dream. Why would you come here to just speak about your success? Well, the answer to that question, my friends, is that this story of success is only the good. Now on to the bad. After all the accomplishments, the success, the accolades, and the overall experience of being a productive member in society, I unfortunately have been forced to deal with the issue of racism right here in the community that I've grown to love. It affected my family in 2017 when the principal of the local elementary school contacted my wife to let her know that another student used the N-word in reference to one of my twin boys. I was angry, I was hurt, and the discussions that took place in my home that day with our boys was very difficult and emotionally draining. I was thankful for the manner in which the school district handled the situation. However, it was a stark reminder of the fact that I was not going to be able to shield my children from racism. It was also upsetting that this racist mindset could exist in children of that age, and that at this age, the use of such racist language is most likely being taught in the home. This, my friends, is the bad. And now the ugly. After everything I do in my life, according to my beliefs of treating everyone with dignity and respect, I am disheartened by the fact that in the year 2020, I am forced to have the same conversation about race with my 13-year-old twin boys that my father had with me over 30 years ago. This conversation that Black fathers are forced to have with their sons is commonly referred to as the talk. And it is not the talk that most fathers in America have with their adolescent sons about the birds and the bees when they reach puberty. This talk is a darker discussion regarding the unfortunate fact that there are some people in society that view them as different. And therefore, they must behave differently because how they conduct themselves could be the difference between life and death. It is exceedingly frustrating that in the year 2020, I am forced to have this talk with my twin boys. It is exceedingly frustrating when my boys witnessed the death of Antoine Rose and George Floyd on TV, that they would look at me and I was forced to answer the question, Dad, could that happen to me? Dad, could I be next? It literally broke my heart to hear the fear in their voice and realize that their life could be simply taken because of the color of their skin. This, my friends, is the ugly, the unfortunate impact of racism in America. But despite all of these things I've described and the feelings of anger, frustration, and depression I felt over the issues of racism, I want you to know that I'm still encouraged. Encouraged by the people assembled here today and watching online. Encouraged by the fact that in learning to communicate with each other and making a concerted effort to understand one another, that we can begin breaking the chains of racism that have kept us in bondage as a nation for so long. But to do this, it requires empathy. Empathy for how each individual feels about this issue. We can't simply point fingers and refer to good people as racists, but we surely can't assassinate the character of those who are making the brave attempt to educate and inform others about this problem. We have to be honest with ourselves and admit that racism exists and that discussions on race are going to be both difficult and uncomfortable, but we have to start having them. And we have to make sure that when we have those conversations, that they're not bent in the pursuit of political agendas. Because when we do, we all lose as a community and we lose as a nation. We have to begin to change the narrative and stop talking past one another and begin to examine the gray area in between these issues. Because when we make the conscious effort to meet in the middle, we will begin to understand one another and find purpose in how we need to move forward as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In closing, I feel compelled as a Christian to leave you with a scripture verse that I personally believe should take all of us some time to consider. It comes from the 3rd chapter of 1 Peter, verse 8, and it says, finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. My hope and prayer will be that I continue to find the place in my heart to do so, and I invite you all to join me in that journey. Thank you for allowing me to express my thoughts with you today. Take care and God bless.
Okay, we can all go home now. We're not crying already.